What's going on, everybody? Sean Daniel here with Guitar Control. Today we're talking about the prettiest key ever made on guitar, according to none other than Joe Pass. Joe Pass said that the key of A is the prettiest key on a guitar. And we're going to talk a little bit about why this is considered a pretty key and really all the chords within it. So make sure you click the link below because I'm going to tab out everything we're doing here. All right? So let's just run over the chords in the key of A major. We start with the A major chord. It's going to be the 1 chord. The 2 chord is B minor. The 3 chord is C minor, C sharp minor. The 4 chord is D major. The 5 chord is E major. The 6 chord is F sharp minor. The 7 chord, we can talk about it, is G sharp, minor 7 flat 5 or diminished. Then back to A. Okay, so that sounded fine, but did it sound pretty? I guess that's kind of up to the listener to decide, but there's something that we can do with open strings to play those same chords, but add a little bit of what makes this such a beautiful key, and that's by leaving certain strings open. The nice thing about being in the key of A is if we just run through the notes, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and A. Aside from the G string, all of the open strings are in this key, and they really kind of help to glue it together. So what I mean by the open strings and how they help us with these is if we play easier versions of going through those same chords that we talked about before, we can play them with just 2 different shapes, really, and it's going to sound like this. There's the 1 chord, the 2 chord, the 3 chord, the 4 chord, the 5 chord. We just kind of keep going on and on. The 6 chord, and then end up back on A. Now that sounded a little bit different than going through what's called the chord scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because I'm choosing to leave the A string open and the high E string open. So not all of those chords have an A or an E note in them, but because A and E are potentially the 2 most important notes in the key of A, the 1 and the 5, those 2 together really ground a key or ground stuff musically together. So by having an open A and an open E, high E, or you can even get the low E too, ringing out over all the chords, it really kind of creates this really kind of pretty cool sound that you can't do in really any key, all right? So first of all, we're just going to go through all the chords, but just using these 2 shapes. We have the A major shape, which I'm playing with my middle finger on the 2nd fret of the D string, my ring finger on the 2nd fret of the G string, and my pinky on the 2nd fret of the B string. You can easily do it with different fingers, or like a raised bar type thing. It doesn't matter, but this is just going to be our A shape, okay? Now, this is a major chord. We can apply this to 2 different spots to get the other chords. A major, D major, and E major. Now traditionally, like this one, let's take the D major chord right here, right? Most people learn this first as a D major chord. Playing it like this is really the same thing note-wise, except we have an A in the bass note, which an A is actually in a D major chord, but we have this E on top, okay? So now technically, an E note isn't in a D major chord. It really changes the name of the chord, but for our purposes, we want to just play something that's pretty much a D chord in this key with the same shape, okay? So you've probably seen a lot of songs that have like an A to a D to an A. We could just as easily go A to D to A right there. Just think of the 2nd fret and then go to the 7th fret with that A shape. Same thing with the E. The 5 chord in the key of A, we just move that 2 frets higher. So now I'm on the 9th fret of the D, G, and B strings, and I still have those open strings, okay? So really easy way to play some of these same chords. And again, technically we're not just playing what's called a triad, a 3-note chord. Like I said, a D major chord traditionally is just a D, an F sharp, and an A. But in this case, we're actually adding an E to So you could think of that as maybe like a D add 9, something like that. But again, besides the point, it's not about what it's called, it's about just how it sounds, right? So we have the major chords. Now let's do the minor chords. You've probably played A minor too, right? Again, A minor is not in the key of A major, obviously. But B minor is. A lot of people struggle with B minor when they first start out because it's like a bar chord. It can be kind of difficult to play, right? But if you take the bar out of it, you're really left with an A minor shape. And then when I say what fret this is on, I'm thinking of where my pointer finger is, all right? So the 3rd fret. I'm gonna put an A minor shape on the 3rd fret, which means my pointer finger is right there. And we're gonna call this a B minor, because if we just play the notes that we're fretting, it is a B minor chord, it's a different voicing, but again, we're adding some of these big open chimey strings to the chord to kind of give it maybe a prettier feel, right? So there's B minor. Same thing, 2 frets higher. This is the C sharp minor. Back and forth. Pointer finger is on the 3rd fret and the 5th fret. Over a chord shape you already know. Maybe then to the major chords. Okay? So again, this B minor is the 2 chord in the key of A. This C sharp minor is the 3 chord in the key of A. The 6 chord, remember, A, B, C, D, E, F. It's a type of F. It's actually an F sharp. Is going to be right here. So I got my pointer fingers on the 10th fret of the B string. There's an F sharp. Again, you can make different voicings of these if you want, but not necessary, okay? Then from this, we can actually run it right back to a higher voice of an A, all right? So all the open chords, we haven't talked about the diminished, the 7 chord in here, but really just we have A, major-ish, to B minor, C minor, C sharp minor, D major, E major, F sharp minor, back to A. So you can play any of those different chords in the key of A if you have ambitions to maybe write songs. This is like a cool way to maybe start exploring some of that stuff. But I want to take what we learned so far and then maybe incorporate it into more traditional ways to play stuff in the key of A, all right? I would go so far as to say the most common chords that you'll see in the key of A are A major, D major, and E major, right? In any combination. What I would challenge you to do is maybe start just replacing some of these open chords, right? So let's say you really like the sound of this E major to this A, but again, if you look at my fingers right here, going from an A major to a D major isn't really the easiest thing. It's so much easier to go from here to here, in my opinion, and it sounds cool because you can get a slide going. So it just has like a really totally different tone to it. And really, that's really just thinking of how an acoustic guitar is set up and allowing those open strings that are in the same key to help us out. All right? So even just B minor. If the only thing you take from this is to maybe start playing a B minor less like this and more like this. Because even if we add an A to a B minor, one of the things that we could be doing is really just making it a B minor 7 chord, but an inversion is where the lowest note in the chord is not the root note. And again, in a B minor, that note right there is your B, A sharp B. If we open that up, a lot of times you've probably already seen something like that. A lot of cool different things you can get just by making things easier for yourself by opening up the A string and the high E string, okay? So, we have that A to E, A. That could be another thing that you do. A lot of times you'll see a lot of repetition in songs. Maybe some songs I'm sure out there are just A to E. That can get boring after forever, right? So maybe the first part of the song you're just going A to E, A to E. Then eventually you switch it up to... Again, still technically in E major, you're just playing it in a different way. And really thinking about this is something that took my playing to an entirely different level, just kind of being thoughtful about why I'm playing these chords, thinking of different locations for these chords, and how actually by doing things that maybe are more musically complex, it makes them a lot easier to execute as far as, you know, just the efficiency of your hand, right? So again, shout out to Joe Pass for teaching us that the key of A is the prettiest key, and hopefully by maybe incorporating some of these open strings, you might be inclined to agree with him. So, thanks for checking it out. Make sure you click that link below to get the tab of it, because it can be really handy in just kind of tracking your fingers along the frets. And make sure to click on other videos on the Guitar Control channel by myself and other great instructors. So thanks so much for checking it out, and we'll talk to you soon.